We are back yet again with another breakdown video, and honestly, I never thought I would have to do a breakdown video on the individual that you see on your screen. If you don't know who this guy is, this is Dennis Prager. He is the CEO and founder of that PragerU. You know that channel that basically hosts all the PC delinquents and all their co-colonizing cohorts, especially Amala Ekpunobi, who I had the distinct displeasure of having to do a Blakarian video on back in June for the crap that she said about reparations. My nickname for her is Little Miss Self-Hate, and she more than deserves it. But I'm curious what she's going to have to say about this. But then again, considering what you're about to hear from Dennis Prager, it wouldn't affect her because of her lineage on both sides of her family. So I'm going to play this 50-second clip of Dennis Prager talking out of the side of his gooseneck about slavery. I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to play the video and then we can go back and dissect.
There were undoubtedly many nice slaveholders in the South. This is not meant facetiously, again, it's meant literally. If you have been invited to one of their homes, you would have been treated beautifully, but they supported a vicious system. The left is a vicious system. It's not slavery, although the end result of all leftism is the enslavement of populations, not as in transatlantic slave trade or chattel slavery, but in the diminution of human rights and liberties.
Okay, so you just heard that right there. This fool came out of his rooster chins. Side note, little petty moment. I've never liked seeing people wear those button-up shirts like that and their neck looks like that. It just looks like foam spewing over, like if you get too much foam in your coffee in the morning. Like, that's what it looks like to me. But back to this. This guy literally said out of his mouth that there were generally nice slaveholders in the South. I guess they were horrible in the North, you know? They were all nice in the South. And I think Dennis Prager is out of North Carolina, because I saw something on the side of the screen, you can't see it, where it says something about North Carolina. He might know, because he most likely comes from a lineage of Adosos. And shout out to Blacklight Revelations for coming up with that phrase. If y'all don't know what Adoso stands for, it means American descendants of slave owners. That's where he descends from. But what I'm gonna do in true breakdown fashion is we're going to go back and we're going to dissect what he said. Now, mind you, he's literally looking at this screen the whole time he's talking. Like, I don't know if he's reading something he wrote or reading something somebody sent to him or whatever, but he's talking real slow like a turtle. He probably moves like one too. But let's get into it again.
There were undoubtedly many nice slaveholders in the South.
My thing is this: nice and slaveholders do not belong in the same sentence. I'm going to repeat that again. Nice and slaveholders do not belong in the same sentence. How is being a slaveholder a good thing or a nice thing? This goes back to the video I just did, another breakdown video might I add, where you had the CNN correspondent ask those two PC people about slavery with the presidents and how slavery was bad, and the guy kept stumbling over his words. Again, this is PC trying to rewrite history yet again, and it always goes back to slavery. Always. Because they're trying to rework the bad that their ancestors did. And it also goes back to reparations as well. If they could try to force the masses or sing them a lullaby that slavery wasn't that bad, then that takes away from FBA getting what is owed. If they can mask it and disguise it as it wasn't that bad, or in his words, slaveholders in the South were genuinely nice people, are undoubtedly nice, then it's no way that the descendants of those who were in bondage for over 400 years could possibly want repair or tangibles. So you got to really pay attention to the stuff that they're saying. But one thing I will give Dennis Prager and those like him, I'm glad y'all are finally saying the quiet part out loud. No more are you tap dancing around it, and no longer is it like pulling teeth with you. No longer do we have to sit by and wait for you to say something or force it out of you. You're saying it yourself. Because I think they're at their boiling point where they're tired of trying to mask it. But I say we use this in our favor when it comes to them tangibles.
It's not meant facetiously. Again, it's meant literally.
He said not meant facetiously, but meant literally. It shouldn't be said period, because it's not accurate. Again, trying to change history. Any group of people that would try to change the history of another group of people, more so if they try to change their own history, they'll change anybody else's history. Because like I said in other videos, when it comes to this topic, slavery links us with them. Excuse me. Slavery links us with them. Because of what they did to our ancestors, trickle down to today. When chattel slavery was over, it wasn't quote unquote over. That part was over. But there was more stuff getting ready to come. And more stuff did come. And more stuff is still coming.
If you had been invited to one of their homes, you would have been treated beautifully.
He said if you were invited to their home, you would be treated beautifully. The only people that were treated beautifully that when they went to the slaveholders' homes were other slaveholders. They were the only ones treated nice. And the ones who had to treat them nice were people who looked like myself, my ancestors. They weren't treated nice in the house, and they weren't treated nice outside of the house. The only reason that people like being in the house is because they probably got a bed to sleep in. And a lot of times, if it was a girl and sometimes maybe even a boy, they had to be sleeping in the bed next to people who looked like Dennis Prager. I was so glad when Nate Parker had put that scene in the movie Birth of a Nation where, if y'all remember it, there was a part, this is during the revolt part, like at the beginning. They went into Mass's room, well, one of them, to get ready to delete him. But before that happened, they had to sneak a little black girl out of his bed. Like, she was literally under the covers in his bed. And you pretty much already know what Massa was doing with her. And that was something they really never showed on screen before. So when I saw he had put that in there, I was like, wow, that actually sent chills through my body, knowing that Nate Parker depicted that on screen. And then, of course, after they got her out the room, that's when they lit Massa up. I mean, I'm talking about that man had more holes in his body than Swiss cheese. But yeah, but back to Dennis Prager. The only people that felt welcomed in their home was other slaveholders, not the slaves themselves. Maybe that's who he was talking about.
But they supported a vicious system. The left is a vicious system.
And see, now he made it a political thing. That's another thing that gets me. Left, right, liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat. It doesn't matter who you feel is worse than the other, because both parties had a hand in the bondage of my ancestors. At that point, I didn't see what political leanings they had or affiliations that they had. I really don't care, because at the end of the day, they look like Dennis Prager. And if they look like Dennis Prager, it doesn't matter who they voted for or which way what party they were affiliated with. But they always like to put this thing, oh, it was the left this, it was the left that. I don't care if it was the intermediate directions on a compass. The fact of the matter is, both parties had a hand in chattel slavery. Both of them. To make it seem like it was just one group is very historically inaccurate. But that's what he's saying. He's already said all of that in this video by trying to say that there was some nice slaveholders. What?
Slavery. Although the end result of all leftism is the enslavement of populations, not as in transatlantic slave trade or chattel slavery.
Now, pay attention to what he just did there. He said all, like, basically leftism is evil. I'm just paraphrasing. But he said he said with the enslavement of like the population, not just the transatlantic slave trade or chattel slavery. In other words, what he's doing is he's downplaying the effects of slavery that occurred upon my ancestors to push up or pedestalize whatever concoction he came up with so-called leftism enslaving a whole population. What? But see, he has to make it seem like chattel slavery was not a big deal. That somehow chattel slavery was very low on the totem pole compared to whatever it is he just said. Like I said, it doesn't make any sense. And he knows it doesn't make any sense, but he's saying whatever he can, throwing whatever at the wall to see whatever can stick to it. And none of it's sticking. All of it is sliding down like slime, like the slime he is. Again, PC wanting to and trying to change and rewrite history in their favor to get themselves out of it, because it's too many black people right now that are aware of their history right now. They're getting it from very reliable sources, and they're using what they're learning and fighting back against these narratives. That's why you have people like Dennis Prager saying what he said. That's why you have those two idiots that I talked about before this saying the stuff they said, because they're stumbling over their own lies. Like I said in the other video, Dennis Prager is stumbling over his own lies. So when they say stuff like this, it makes no sense to anyone but them. Hell, there's probably some other PC people out there looking at this guy like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you couldn't have come up with anything better than that. That's the best thing you could have came up with. And also, too, it's not easy for them to lie and have people believe them so easily anymore. They're losing their grip. They're losing their grasp. And they hate that that's happening. But they'll continue to do it because that's all they know how to do. That's what they've been trained to do. That is a part of their lineage. Well, one part of it, because there's several more. It's a lot of dark parts to their lineage, but the lying is definitely a huge part of it. Lying, deceiving, all of that. And that's just the mental part. Remember, I tell you, the mental always was worse than the physical. At least with the physical, you can heal from that. But the mental, if they can get inside your head, they got you forever. Until you decide you want to break free from that mental enslavement. But remember how they always said they didn't know what Make America Great Again meant? Or they try to claim they don't know what it is? Just reflect on what Dennis Prager just said. That's what they want to go back to. When they say that there were slaveholders in the South that was nice, when he says that, if they could go back to that, which of course they were never nice, if they could go back to that fantasy, because this is a fantasy, but he probably dreams about this at night. It's probably a wet dream for him. If they can go back to those moments, they most definitely would. And some of them probably wouldn't even take a lot of money to do it. Just knowing that there are black bodies working for them and that they can chastise them, that they can beat them, and that they can torture them and everything else under that dark umbrella spectrum, they would do it in a heartbeat. Now, I got a question for those Sambos, and we can throw little Miss Self-Hate in there because she's one of the main ones that comes to mind. What do they have to say about this? Are they going to just come out and say the usual spill? It was just taken out of context. No, your hairline is taken out of context. That's why you're always wearing a baseball cap. And shout out to the people that responded to that community tab post when I had posted it a couple weeks ago, y'all was going in and I loved it. But yeah, Dennis Prager, I mean, I feel like I don't have to say what he is. He pretty much said it and laid it all out for us in this video, that in this audio that you just heard. He wants to go back to that. And the crazy part about it is, he's not the only one, but he's one of the few that will express interest in it if the opportunity ever presented itself. That's going to be the end of this commentary. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the subscribe button if you are new. I upload my videos in a Premiere style format, so if the bell is not working for you, you can click the notify me button on either the bottom left or bottom right of the thumbnail and the notification should come. All the links will be down in the description. I'll talk to you in the next one.